Guys, today we're diving deep into the text that reshaped existentialism, The Transcendence of the Ego by Jean-Paul Sartre. If you think the ego is just that little voice in your head, brace yourself. Sartre will prove you are not your ego. And the best part? This isn't just theory. It's an invitation to live with radical freedom. Let's dismantle each concept, layer by layer. Before Sartre, philosophy saw the ego as the home of identity. Descartes, with his I think, therefore I am, treated the self as an immutable substance, like a rock at the bottom of a river. Husserl, the father of phenomenology, took it further. For him, the ego was the organizing center of consciousness, like a film director coordinating all experiences. But Sartre, in the 1930s, asked, what if the ego isn't the director, but just an actor on stage? He proposes a twist. The ego isn't the core of consciousness, it's a product of it. Imagine, you're not the boss of your mind, you're the result of your actions. Shocking, right? Sartre splits consciousness into two modes. Pre-reflective, the raw state of experience. Example, you're so immersed in a movie you forget yourself. There's no I here, just the actor watching. Reflective, when you think, I'm enjoying this movie, the ego emerges. In other words, the ego is a narrative we create to make sense of actions. Sartre uses a brilliant example. If you're chasing a bus in the moment of action, there's no I running, just the act of running. The I appears later when you reflect, why did I run? Am I anxious? The ego, then, is a useful fiction, not your essence. Transcendent here has nothing to do with spirituality. In Sartre's philosophy, it means the ego is inside consciousness. It's an object in the world like a chair or a memory. How so? When you say, I'm shy, you're turning specific actions, avoiding parties, stuttering, into a fixed identity. But Sartre warns, you're not shy, you act shyly. The danger? The more you cling to this self, the more you become its prisoner. It's like wearing a mask that sticks to your face. Against Husserl. Husserl saw the ego as the transcendental center unifying experiences. Sartre counters. If the ego were internal, how could we know it? To exist, the ego must be objectified. Like when you say, I hate myself. At that moment, the I becomes a stranger you judge. Against Freud. Freud would say your fear of public speaking comes from the unconscious. Sartre hates this. For him, the unconscious is an excuse. If you act due to traumas, you're shifting responsibility. Sartre declares, there are no basements in the mind. Everything's in the living room of consciousness. In short, you're 100% responsible, even when you don't want to be. If the ego isn't fixed, you're condemned to freedom. But this creates existential anguish, the despair of knowing no destiny or essence defines you. Example, Case 1. Maria calls herself a victim of circumstances. For Sartre, this is bad faith. She uses the ego as an alibi to avoid action. Case 2. Joao defines himself as a programming genius. Sartre would say, careful, that's a trap. If Joao fails, is he no longer a genius? Better to say, I'm coding well now. Sartrean freedom is terrifying but liberating. You can reinvent yourself every moment. How to apply this daily? Deconstruct labels. Replace I'm a procrastinator with I'm procrastinating now. Ask, does this action define me, or is it just a momentary choice? Take authorship. If you criticize someone, don't say I'm a critical person. Admit, I chose to criticize. Embrace anguish. Use the discomfort of freedom as fuel. Ask, what would I do if I weren't afraid of judging myself? Reinvention experiments. Do something opposite to your ego for a day. Example, if you think you're serious, tell nonsense jokes. Sartre was accused of denying personal identity, but he replied, I don't deny it. I show it's fluid. His legacy. In therapy, existential approaches focus on responsibility, not fixed diagnoses. In social movements, the idea that gender and race are constructs has Sartrean roots. In pop culture, films like Fight Club, The Nameless Narrator, and shows like BoJack Horseman explore ego fluidity. But note, Sartre isn't a self-help guru. For him, Freedom is arduous. It demands courage to live without identity crutches. Folks, Sartre isn't here to comfort you. He's here to wake you up. The transcendence of the ego reminds us you're not a finished character, but the author of your own story. So, will you keep repeating the same chapter or write a plot twist? If this video made you question your masks, leave a Sartre sends his regards in the comments, share it with anyone needing a reality check, and subscribe for more mind-bending philosophy. Until next time, and remember, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself.